Welcome to The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. Here's your host, the biggest record nerd of them all, Nate Goyer.
Oh, well, hey everyone, it's Nate. Welcome to episode 535 of The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. And dear people, this week we've got a great conversation with producer Plug, who you may know from his many vinyl record ventures. Plug got his start, as we all did, as a young music fanatic, but Plug went from DJing clubs and parties in New York to absolutely crushing it in the mixtape game. He talks about all that today. He's now producing music for many hip-hop artists, which we all know and love, including members of Wu-Tang. And of course, he's also now owning and running multiple record stores across the U.S. Plug's latest venture, R&G Records in Inglewood, California, with his business partner, Snoop Dogg. So, yeah, there's a lot to learn from producer Plug. I recommend you follow his Instagram. I always enjoy his posts. He's incredibly knowledgeable in the music field and, of course, shares that wisdom all the time. In Instagram, that's Producer Plug Uni, or you could also fire up his website at producerpluguni.com. And if you're going to be anywhere around the Austin Record Show in May 2026, look out for Plug as well as myself. I'm going to be running around there those days. So if you're going to be at the Austin Record Show, make your plans, book your travel, and hey, let's do some barbecue and do some record digging in Austin, May 30 and 31. All right, without any further delay, let's check in with producer Plug on all things vinyl, hip-hop, and more. Oh, man, thanks for taking the time. By the way, I'm going to see you again in Austin. I'm making plans to be there.
When?
Well, this is the Austin Record Fair. What, May, something or another?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll see you there again.
I'm excited.
Yeah, even though it's 6 months out, I'm always up for a record fair. So, Plug, again, thanks for making the time. Now, you've got so many superpowers, and I want to make sure we kind of start a little bit at the beginning here and kind of build a foundation so everyone gets familiar with kind of you and what you do. How do you describe what you do? You're involved in so many things and doing extraordinarily well in them in the different music fields. Kind of what are your superpowers?
DJing is number one. Being an executive producer is number two, and then being a producer, I feel like that's kind of how everything started. And that level, when you actually start seeing that, like, it really took me, like, me DJing took me to making mixtapes, which took me to producing albums, not knowingly that I was doing it because I was making these mixtapes, these quick mixtapes using original beats, Yeah. So, but DJing is definitely the beginning of everything.
And where did you start? You were born on the East Coast?
Yeah, I was born in Flushing, Queens, and I always had a love for music since I was a young kid. My father was big into records. My father had a Fisher sound system with these big speakers, and he had this Fisher, it had all the equalizer board, and the light had nice lights on it. So at night it looked dope. And he always said, "Don't touch the equalizer and all that." So one day I was like messing around with it, just trying to see like how it sounds. I'm like, "Oh, this is kind of cool." So that was kind of like my first introduction of like listening to records. We had the double CD, you had a double cassette player,
Mm-hmm.
you had the regular CD player, and then on top you had your record player. So I would sit down, listen to my parents' records, listen to my dad's records, and that was pretty much like the love of records. Like being with my dad. And also, like, him telling me, like, yo, don't touch this, don't mess up the sound level and all that. So that was pretty much my first introduction of, like, mixing records,
That's so funny you say that, because that's exactly where my love of records goes back. My dad and I, he'd take me out every Saturday, and he'd run errands, and he'd buy me a 45. for just hanging out with him. And in the years since, it's those moments that I'm trying to recapture in my heart. I know I won't get them, but that's the motivator, man. Just that time with your dad, it's so foundational.
I think also I think there's two big moments with my dad that really like changed my whole life in regards to music. The first moment is when he put me on to WCBS-FM. It's an oldie station out here in New York. We listen to people like Cousin Brucey, Malia Melito. I think she was on another. Eventually, she came on WCBS-FM. But there was a lot of those like named. I know he's not part of CBS-FM, but like Casey Kasem, a lot of these like disc jockeys, right? They played a lot of great music, right? So my dad really was into like soul, funk, and real classic rock. Now they call it yacht rock, but like one of my favorite songs is Steely Dan, Black Cow. We would always that and Hear It in the Year. These are like things that I used to listen to when I was a kid, which now are big sample records, And I remember one day my sister, she went to a specialized high school in New York, Brooklyn Tech. And we was at a parent teacher conference, and my dad, he has a construction business. So we in this big ass van, me, my three sisters, my oldest sister upstairs, going through our parent teacher conference, and we're playing Fugees The Score, and Killing Me Softly comes on, and my dad is hearing it, and he's like pretty much said, it's not even her song. Like, you guys, I'm so young, and I'm like, what you mean this is not her song? Like, stop hating on this. This woman is an amazing singer. This is her song. So my sister comes back down with my mom. Everything is cool, fine and dandy. My sister's doing well. Obviously, my sister's like a straight A student. That's why she's even in that school. And we driving back to Queens. And he turns on WCBS-FM. And Cousin Brucey comes on. He says, the next song we're going to play has a resurgence, just came back. We would like to play Roberta Flack, Killing Me Softly. And the song comes on, and it's the song Killing Me Softly from the Fugees.
You're waiting for the beat to kick in.
And my dad is driving the car, and then when the first 4 bars come in, he turns his head around, and he keeps driving. So that was my first musicology test ever. So when people ask me, if you're a producer, a music producer, we play these games where we play the samples, like drum parts, bass lines, like different parts, guitar parts, and we be sending it to each other. My dad was playing that game since I was a young kid, not knowing that that's a game. Eventually, I start playing in the future.
Yeah,
which is being a musicologist, So that trained me at a very young age to know your history of music. Like, don't go out there not knowing what you're getting yourself into, especially in music, So I really, really learned from my dad to like harness the gratefulness that music gives to people, right? And not to be ignorant to other people's music and other people's opinions, because you don't know, you might learn something from that. So that was like a very big moment for me. I just learned just to become a sponge and not get too, that I know everything. I think being a musicologist, you always gotta learn something new. There's always gonna be a new genre. There's gonna be an album that you never heard before that came out of nowhere. And it's always, and I think that's the best part about music, right? Like, especially in vinyl, like, you can find certain things that's not even out anymore.
Yeah, you got to stay curious and stay humble.
So that's been. I mean, especially like saying, like with my dad, that really helped me a lot. Music, music wise, and I was born in '82, the year Thriller came out. A lot of good music came out as well. So I'm a Thriller baby,
So it sounds like your dad was very supportive of your musical curiosity. How did you start to become you go from a listener to a participant?
like I said, just for a long time, I would buy music. I would go to music stores. I'll go to Nobody Beats the Wiz in Flushing. I'll go to Coconuts. Uh, I'll just buy music, man. I'll just be DJing. When I got into high school, a lot of my friends, they were into hip hop, but they weren't into DJing. I was kind of like the only one in high school, like with a bag of with the garbage bag, a white garbage bag of records, walking around because I don't have no DJ bag or anything like that. Just traveling with my records and all that, and it just became something, man. It just really in itself became its own thing. Where my first record shop I used to go to all the time was a spot called All the Right Records, Junction Boulevard. And I would get my hair cut there, get get a shape up, get a Caesar, 1.5 all over, or one in the summer. And it's in the barber shop is in the same building as the record store. So I would get my cut and then I'll go over and then I will get records, you know? And that was like my first form of like record buddies, you know, people who were like really love music. It was like my first kind of part of like being accepted, you know, outside of being in school, you know, and being with my parents. So they really like were very curious of me DJing, and with that I started to make mixtapes, all right? And these mixtapes started to become really popular within Queens, within Bayside, Flushing, Douglaston, Malba. It's really started because I figured out a way how to make tapes to make money off of my tapes. So, and they weren't tapes, they were CDs, but we just called them tapes, right? So
Right.
I would I'll get my CDs and I'll go to all the record shops, and all these record shops, they knew me because I would buy records from them, and they're like, all right, cool, you know, you figured out a way how to make some money on your own, right? One one day my friend was telling me like, hey, listen, the way you could save money is if you get on the record list. There's a record list with all the labels, and if they see that you're like popular, they know you, they'll put you on the record list. I'm like, man, I need to be on the record list. I'm popping, you know. So after my friend put me onto the information, he says every Friday you go to the labels, you show them what you got, and they'll give you free records. I was like, cool. So I went to like every record label with like mounts of CDs, and they seen that I had at least one of their records on my tapes.
Mhm.
So they started to like put me on the list. Like, and I was really excited because now I wasn't paying for records. Now it
Yeah.
started to start to become something, right? Um, but eventually, me doing these mixtapes, uh, a lot of my friends were up and coming producers. So I was basically telling them like, hey, listen, how about you give me your beats, and I'm already popping on the mixtape, so we can get some artists from Queensbridge to jump on your beats, and we do some kind of like a mixtape project. Pretty much, the mixtape project was my first A&Ring projects.
Hmm.
Me not really knowing that I'm doing these things, right? So for like 5 months, I'm doing these projects, right? And I bring one of my projects over to Landspeed, which is an independent company. They went out of business because they did some bad business with Interscope Records. One of the people that are working over there asked me, hey man, we're going out of business over here, but we're gonna start a new label, and we need someone kind of like you to be in the forefront of the label, to kind of like be in the street. And I'm kind of pretty much telling like, man, I'm good, man. I was like I said, I was at that time I was young, I was making money, so I put out
Weren't
a
looking for
wad
a
of like
job.
I had like 3 grand, 4 grand. I was like, man, I make 3 grand right now selling mixtapes, man. Like he was like, listen, I'll teach you how to do this for real, like barcodes. And I was kind of tired of running around with a 1,500 to 2,000 mixtapes. Yeah, I'm selling them at $3 4 a piece, but I'm running around with them, and he's kind of teaching me about, yo, bring those to one spot and come back and pick up your money versus you doing all the work. So I was like, cool, let's try this gig out, right? Pretty much it was the gig that kind of started all my first records. Theater Unit 718. Salams to my boy Consequence. Salams to Ghost. I did Ghost 718. Consequence, Take Him to the Cleaners. The Saigon Warning Shots. Did a project with Nori. Thug Diamond Entertainment. Mixtape. I just did so much. Did a couple Tragedy, Gaddafi projects over there. And then eventually, and then rest in peace, I did an ODB album for Osiris. So that's kind of what everything kind of started in regards to the mixtape going transition to the album. And then my first ever project that kind of like put me on the map outside of the 718 album I did with Ghostface was this album I did with Street Life from Wu-Tang Clan. It's called Method Man Presents Street Life, Street Education. And that was the album that really solidified my executive producer position. I wasn't an A&R anymore. It was like, all right, now I put out a lot of albums for another label, and now it's time for me to just put my own seeds in the soil to start spreading it out. And that album did very well. We sold like 20,000 units independently. And it just did phenomenal, you know?
So I want to get back to that because but I've always been curious about the mixtape industry because we're talking early 2000s now, yeah. And you had people like, and I'll just use some of the big names. You had like Game or 50 Cent or whoever that would do an acapella and then get that out to some of the mixtape producers, and those mixtapes would get on the market. They were being shared online. Some of them, I'm sure there were physical copies. What was that business like? How did that business kind of work from the inside?
Man, how can I really explain it? So the cool thing about doing mixtapes back then is that it was all about having a cool cover and having an actual vibe. Like, people have to buy you because of the records you bring. So big shout out to my boy J Love. Big shout out to Big Mike. Big shout out to Sha Money XL. Sha Money XL, Coach PR. I can really say that those two gentlemen really helped blow up my whole DJ career pretty much. So what ended up happening is, like I said, I'm blowing up as a mixtape DJ. I'm selling mixtapes, getting all these records and making it happen. And 50 Cent is like the guy right there. He is the guy. If you get a 50 Cent exclusive, you're selling at least 5,000 units off rip. No ifs, ands, or buts. So I find out that Sha Money, which is Sha Self, he used to come up, he was under that moniker as a producer. I reached out to him. I first reached out to Coach PR. And I was like, look, man, I know you got Who Kid. I know he's your main guy, but I'm gonna cross you over. Like, I'm gonna bring you over to like where I'm at. And then we know where your store is at. We can't get into your stores because they all rock with you and they're saying you're the hottest DJ. So what do you need? I'm like, I need 4 songs. I need 4 songs for my tapes, and I will spread it out within every week to every 2 weeks. So I won't interfere with you guys. What you guys are putting out, I want to interfere with what Who Kid is putting out. I'll be in my own lane. So he was like, that sounds cool. Let me talk to Sha Money. He speaks to Sha. I go to Coach PR's house and Sha Money is there. It's the first time I ever meet Sha Money. This is when 50 Cent is about to blow up. He already put out that first mixtape. He's hot. He's super hot. So he says, yo, man, I really appreciate what you're doing for us. We really don't do things like this, but we see your work and we want to do some stuff with you. Cool, not an issue. Um, I call up Big Mike. At that time, he was one of the biggest mixtape DJs, right? Like, yo, Mike, we about to own the summer right now. I got 5 50 cent joints. What? How you even? I can't even get 150. Where'd you get that from? I said, I got it from Shy Money and Coach PR. Man, I would just talk to them. They told me they didn't have any records. So that put me in a good position now because I'm like, all right, Big Mike can't even get exclusives right now. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only one. Me, Who Kid, and whoever Shy Money's giving these exclusives is gonna be winning. So we did this mixtape called Cruel Summer, right? And we did it overnight. Stayed in his house. He had a studio in his house. We did the whole mixtape, printed it. He did the cover. By like 9 a.m., those joints were getting manufactured. By 11, me and Mike are coming from all the way because Mike's from Connecticut, came from all the way from Harlem. Start selling out the mixtapes. We went to Burkina. We went to all these spots. Boom, 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 knocking it out. Not Burkina, Music Hut. Burkina's in Houston. Music Hut's in Harlem.
You could get the CDs pressed in a day. Is
in
that
a day? Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. We got everything done as soon as possible, right? Because that's the type of timing we was on. Like, if we missed the beat, we wasn't gonna we weren't gonna make it for that week to be the hottest mixtape DJ. So we started all the way in Harlem. By the time we got to Canal Street to see my man D on Broadway, the tape was already there. So by the time we got to Canal Street, the tape was already bootlegged. You know what that means in the street?
That means so many people want it. They're sharing it. The demand is huge.
Me and Mike had the hottest mixtape for 4 months. That was like, and that after I did that mixtape, I did a mixtape with Ron G. I did a mixtape with Cutmaster C. Big shout out to D Life, Tropical Quest DJ. Like I went to go after that tape. Everyone wanted to work with me as a DJ. Everyone wanted me to have them on their mixtape. Everybody wanted me to work with them. That was like the apex of that mixtape era, right? So what ended up happening is I ended up taking that job to work as an A&R. And thank God I took that job because 4 weeks later, everyone got rated for mixtapes.
Oh. How were mixtapes, I guess, outlawed? Because if the artist gives you permission, yeah, you're using samples from other places, but I mean that's hardly a
Well, it's supposed to, well, the crime is that you're manufacturing CDs and not using unlicensed material to promote them, right? So if you're making money off of it, even if it says promotional use only, it's not promotional use if you're making some money off of it, you know? So if you're playing it on the radio, if you're playing it at a party, if you're, that's different. But now these conversations are better now than they were back then. Because now we have digital and all this other stuff. So the language has changed and like of the sharing things, like case an example, YouTube. If someone will clip one of our moments right now and put it up on YouTube, you're still gonna monetize off of it because they shared it to help monetize the video. So it makes money and it makes sense. That's cool. Back then, you couldn't do that. They would just shut down your video. So these things work. Monetization in the digital world is better than monetization back then. Selling these CDs. Because they know how to make money off of you now. So yeah, you can use a Led Zeppelin record that blows up, but the person who you're sampling from, they're gonna make money off of it through all the DSPs because it's all through a digital fingerprint. So the conversation has definitely have changed. Decades down the line.
Yeah. Do you find the environment right now of sample clearing, like how different is it now than it was back then?
I mean, it's still the same. Publishers is still being publishers. they're giving rights away to the wrong people. You know what they who they should be aligning themselves with is with producers and artists to get things cleared and get things done better. And then one of the people who I really applaud of doing this is Bob James. Started working with him a few years ago through RZA's label, Soul Temple. Was doing all the reissues for all his albums, and he's just a very interesting man. Being the president of CBS Records, being in New York, one of the biggest in the '80s, one of the biggest shows that we used to watch all the way into maybe like early 2000s was Taxi.
Mm-hmm.
And he was his signature. That was Angela, the signature song. And I learned so much, learn being with that guy, and he also was very anti hip hop, anti sampling, and he, after conversations with me and Rob Swift and a bunch of other people, he really started to embrace the sample community, really starting to embrace letting people sample his music, licensing his music, because he knows that it can be one day a young RZA sampling him, you know, making something that's gonna like change the world. A young Large Professor, sampling a Bob James record who sampled Nautilus, who ends up introducing one of the best MCs of all time, Nas, through Live at the Barbecue. These are things that he really didn't understand. And the one thing Bob told me when I first had the conversation, because it was very, very, he did not like hip hop, was why didn't they never call me? I just wanted to be part of the record. That's all he wanted.
Do you know if he was paid for
No.
like Peter Piper? Because that's
He
his
was
thing.
paid. He was paid for all this stuff, and this is like these are the cool stories I could talk about Bob. You want to know how Bob found out that he was getting sampled?
Oh,
Okay, so Bob was at a family reunion, right? And everyone remember Bob James at that time. He's the man. You know what I'm saying? Bob James is the guy, right? So he's having a family reunion, and one of his nephews comes up to him and says to him, "Yo, you are so cool for doing that song with Warren G and Nate Dogg." And he was like, "What are you talking about?" And he plays him Regulate and plays him doo 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 doo. His keys part, the most notable part of the whole song, right? And Bob James says, "I didn't clear this," and went after everyone after that.
okay. So that's a lot further down than the Run DMC stuff. In my mind, that's the ultimate Bob James sample. Ding ding ding
Yeah.
ding. You know.
Well, there's a lot of that too when you actually start to, Mardi Gras is that's just a hip hop park jam song. That's what you played on the park jams. So for that was like I said, Bob James, James Brown. I mean, those two gentlemen, they're definitely definitely like the godfathers of sampling.
Oh,
When you
Clinton,
actually
George
see
Clinton too. Yeah.
George Clinton. But when you actually see, well, Clinton comes down the line with Snoop and them. Because Snoop really revitalized G-Funk. East Coast guys wasn't really using Clinton like that. We was messing with George Clinton, but it was really Dr. Dre that took it to the top with that stuff. You know what I'm saying? They were doing a lot of Bob James stuff. They're doing a lot of jazz. They were messing with George, but they wasn't flipping George like how when Dre got next to George and started the whole G Funk movement with Warren G and all those guys.
And I don't know if you'd agree with this, but the thing that's kind of stuck out to me, and I've had DMC on the show, and we talked about New York radio's influence on hip hop, and I think what you're saying through, not just soul and funk, but also Steely Dan, what was yacht rock. A lot of those songs are so groovy, and those were available on New York radio more so than the West Coast, which I think gives the East Coast a really interesting flavor that I think can only be found there. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and you know what's the cool thing too is that back then we used to have jazz station
Hmm.
in New York. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
CD 101. That stuff that I used to listen to the jazz station. People be I kind of be like, why you watch listen to jazz? It's like that cool samples in the jazz station, and that's what all the hip hop producers were listening to was the jazz station. So that I mean, look, the one thing I can say about New York is that we're like the melting pot, man.
Hmm.
I'm in Chinatown, but I can walk up the block and I'll be in LES and all the great cultures. Everyone's there. So it really helps that being in New York that we all learn from each other, like culturally as well. And I think that's why New York has been like the epicenter of hip hop. We started it and everyone else made their best versions of it. And they've been doing a great job. And like I said, man, I love West Coast music. And the one thing I know about West Coast music, they love East Coast. They love
Hmm.
they rock him. They love their Run DMC. They love the OG stuff, man. And it's cool that Dre really took it to that level, man. Dre, Battle Cat, Warren G, uh, all those guys. They're just phenomenal, on what they're doing.
Hmm.
What's the brother's name? Um, uh, Daz Dillinger. He's another one. Go like flipping these records, and these guys are super young. They're not. They're in their 20s doing this stuff. Which is really amazing as well.
Yeah. I remember back in the day when sampling started, well, it became affordable. People could actually start to, use it in their rooms and their studios. And George Clinton was one of the, I guess, the pioneers that really realized that this could be something that is a completely alternative revenue stream. He put out this sample disc, a little bit of disc, a little bit of dat. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So because he was encouraging people, and it had a sample license form that came in the CD, and it is essentially encouraging everyone to go ahead and use these samples. But here's the payment if you start selling over 1,000 units, something like that. I don't know how many people. It was kind of on the honor system at that point. I don't know how successful it was, but at least his eyes were open to the possibility.
I mean, look. All I gotta say is this: George Clinton is ahead of his time
Hmm.
with a lot of this stuff. With the theatrics, with the mothership, all this stuff. He raised all of us, man. I mean, and the craziest story about George Clinton I ever had is I'm listening to P Funk for like a month straight. Nothing else. I'm not listening to no radio. Just P Funk, George Clinton, Funkadelic, Parliament, Boosie Collins. Just that. That's all I'm listening to. So I get a call one day from Street Life, and he's like, "Yo, we working on the new Wu album. Come through." So I go to the studio. It's called Right Track. It's not there anymore. I go to Right Track. And I see Power. Like, yo, Power, what up? Oh, yo, who you come to Street of Meth? I'm like, yeah. So he comes, brings me upstairs in the elevator, and the doors open. George Clinton in front of me. Yo, nice to meet you. I'm showing you my iPhone, my iPad, the little whatever iPod pod thing showing. Like, yo, been listening to you, telling him everything, smoking with him. I'm like, yo, this man, I'm smoking weed. So we just chopping it up. I'm like, yo, thank you. I appreciate everything you have done, man. I've been studying your music. And he says, man, I love talking to you, young man. But so they told me that you have like I can buy 3 ounces from you. And I'm like, oh, I'm not the weed man. He's like, I'm here with Street of Meth. I'm like, oh, I thought you was the weed man. And I'm like, no, man, I'm not the weed man. I make beats. He said, can you give me some weed, young brother? And I'm like, oh, I got you, George. Hold on. So I call my friend up where I got my weed from. I'm like, yo, listen, come meet me here. Bring 5 ounces. Don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? So I tell George, yo, listen, my boy's gonna take care of you. He's gonna come through. I I go to the session. I come back. George is sitting there happy, stoned as hell. And they're working on a Diagram album. That's when they were working on the song Wolves.
Mm.
So yeah, so I got to meet George Clinton. I got to smoke George Clinton. He thought I was the weed man. It's great. It's the best story of all time.
You got
You
him
know?
baked. So in the mixtape era, did vinyl play much of a role?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
because you still can get like rare test presses. You still get. Remember at that time. Remember this. We still had a lot of vinyl. We still getting. Um. Uh, let me show you something.
It's like
Back in the
the
day,
world wasn't picked through by then.
back then. So sometimes the labels, if the artist is doing really good, they will have a radio version, but they will have an early dirty version for you like that. So I would remember I used to work at Def Jam back in the days and as a street team member, and eventually I grew up to becoming one of the guys over there. So I eventually started to get a lot of these records like a real radio DJ did. So and they didn't say anything to me because I was popping as a mixtape DJ. So I was doing Def Jam Street Team. I was meeting all the A&Rs over there, all the executives. I'll do the promo for their product, but then I put the music on my mixtape. So they could never say anything to me because it was like it's helping promote the album. You know, sales is doing well. Like he's doing the right thing. He's doing all the posters for all the stores in all of New York City. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
it all worked out.
That whole ecosystem was important. So when you would do a mixtape, they were primarily CDs. Were there moments or were there mixtapes that kind of launched back into vinyl?
Um, the one thing that did launch back into vinyl was I did this. Rest in peace with my brother Killer Shah. We did this album, God Walk on Water, and that's the one that like really took off
Mm-hmm.
for his album. And he had like Havoc, he had Large Professor, Juice Polar doing the production. That album was so great, man. And I'm so happy to be doing a reissue of this album. It never ever came out on vinyl. We only put it out on CD. The only vinyl we ever put out was a single with Juice Polar and Large Professor called "Come On" and "Masquerade." So I'm really excited to do that reissue, and to get the real vinyl treatment that he really deserved. You know,
Mm-hmm.
this guy was third member of Poetical Prophets, which ends up becoming Mobb Deep. He was their DJ, producer. He was a big hand of all the Queensbridge movement. He was part of Tragedy Gaddafi's 252 era. If you hear any of Against All Odds, you hear Killer Shah, Cameron, RZA, WWT. So many great records he's on. So to to actually do a physical release, a physical vinyl release for this, which we're also going to do 45s. I'm really excited about it. But yeah, that album
Mm-hmm.
was the album that really blew up in regards to the songs that we did, and it blew up on the CD wise, and like I said, that single we put out, as well.
I want to talk to you about this, about your shops and vinyl on demand. But before I do, did you ever work with Big L?
No, I never ever worked with Big L. I did a project with Big L's estate years down the line called Return of the Devil's Son. But I never ever had the pleasure to work with him, or I had never ever had the pleasure or never met ODB, because that's one of the albums I put out, Osiris, that did very well is after he passed away.
I remember Osiris. I didn't realize that that was done entirely, after he was gone. Okay.
Well, so what basically happened is we were getting the vocals. Shout out to my brother Royal Flush. He helped us out a lot with this album. He basically was in the studio with ODB. Him, Mariah Carey. He been writing for ODB. My big shout out to my big brother Ben Grimm now and later. He's engineering these sessions, and he calls me like, "Yo, Flush is out here with ODB." I'm like, "Damn, I need some ODB vocals for this album." I haven't heard back from this A&R dude from Rockefeller. So, big shout out to Flush. He basically helped us with that album, and and it became a real big success. But like I said, I never ever met ODB. Dame Dash gave us the clearance and all that. So, like I said, I never worked with them physically, but I put out the projects,
Mm-hmm.
through the proper means. And this is before ODB died. We signed a deal with him to put out the Osiris project.
Right. Okay. So I'm looking at all your enterprises here, and obviously you're doing DJing, you're doing production, executive production, but you also have some record shops and a recent, several of them on East and West Coast. Can you talk a little bit about your record operation?
Uh, Producer Plug Records, man, it's one of these things that just came out of necessity, pretty much. So the Yankees licensed one of my songs in 29 at the end of 2019.
Baseball Yankees. Yeah.
Baseball Yankees, yeah. So they basically licensed this song called Squad Up, the song through my label, Producer Plug Records, Street Life, Method Man, Havoc, and song basically just blew up. Out of nowhere, the song went so crazy that it got attention from this guy named Nick over there at the Yankees Enterprise. They were like, "Hey, listen, can we do our own version of Squad Up for the Yanks?" Hells yeah, you could. This is gonna blow us up, So we go February 2020. We're at Quad Studios, Street Life, Method Man, myself. We're all shooting the part that they changed certain lyrics and all that. We're shooting everything, and mind you, this is around the time COVID started to come into play. So I was really pushing for them to get this part done. Like, hey, listen, I signed a contract. Lawyers got involved. Let's get this done. So they got it done. They got this part done. When it got time to do opening season, they say, hey, we can't do it because of COVID. But we'll do it for you next year. You know what I'm saying? So they reach out to us and they're like, hey, look, we're gonna move forward with you. But all the stuff that we promised you to do, like the clothing and this, that, and the third, we can't do it. We can only do opening day, the jerseys. All right, cool. So I said to myself, damn, that was a nice part of revenue for to sell our merch over there inside the stadium. So a friend of mine reached out to me. He's like, yo, I just opened up an art gallery on Canal Street. You should come through. I'll go see him. And he's like, yo, man, you have some money? Like, I'm like, yeah, I got a few dollars to throw around. What's up? He's like, yo, I just opened up my gallery. I can introduce you to the realtor. He's looking for properties as well. That's open because all these was vacant because of COVID. I was like, cool. Reached out to the gentleman. Hey, trying to open up a store. Sure. 3 weeks later, I opened up my store. I didn't know nothing about records and inventory and all that, but what I did know is that I'm a DJ and I know what people like to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the most important part. People tend to forget. I'm a DJ at heart, and I know what people like, know what people want to listen to. So outside of making this great merch for them, I made an amazing store, an amazing experience. But the one thing I went hard for was the records, and people really started to buy records from me. They were buying records from me that I was amazed they were just buying it. They're just buying it at such a rate that it started to go crazy. So I was there at that Canal Street and Broadway location for like 2 years. And obviously in rent and landlord fashion, always want to increase rent. And, it wasn't really financially made sense for me to keep staying over there. And especially having like not a great landlord who didn't fix things. It was like a real slumlord asking you to fix things, and when you ask the slumlord to fix it, you don't fix it. So I just basically just closed up shop.
Now,
For all my stuff.
for those 2 years, I mean, you're selling some of your collection. You're going out, you're finding, you're digging, you're bringing used records in. That's kind of a full-time job in itself, just trying to find stock to be able to put in the store. Is that what you're doing?
No, well, I'm doing the stock by myself, but like I said, I'm DJing. So when I'm going to dig, now I'm digging for myself and now I'm digging for the store.
Mm.
So it don't get to really be that hard. And to be quite honest, I think like my record guy, big shout out to Travis, Human Head. I mean, this guy, he's the most genuine, he's the best guy ever I ever worked with in selling records.
Oh, Human Head. Yeah, yeah,
Human
yeah,
Head,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So pretty much my whole Canal Street store was 80% was coming from out of Human Head.
Mhm.
For 7 months, I was buying records from him. He never one time ever asked me, why are you spending so much records? Never ever. Then I was like, yo, I think I might get, I should just tell him, versus just me just buying a bunch of records. So one day I just go to the shop, do the usual, buy a bunch of records. And I'm like, hey, man, I have a record store on Canal Street. And this is why I'm buying all these records. And he was like, oh, cool. So I was happy he said, oh, cool. Because it's like a lot of people, especially in the record game, it'd be competition. It'd be like fake competition. And he didn't see it like that. He seen it like, yo, I'm giving you the groceries, pretty much. That's what he calls me. Oh, you getting your groceries today, I see. So he became a good friend of mine and definitely told me, like, hey, listen, if you ever need anything from me, if you want to, like, figure out some stuff out, how, I can help you with your store, just let me know. And after that day, that changed my whole perspective on the whole record community, And then after Travis helped me, there was a bunch of other people that came on board to help me as well. So when I opened up my other store on 9th Street, like a year and a half later, I was prepared. I already knew what people wanted. Uh, I had Large Professor like really helping me push the 9th Street store, and I was there for like 7 months on the 9th Street store. I was kind of just really building up if I should really keep the record thing going.
Mm-hmm.
And big shout out to my homegirl Doper Jones. She lives in Chinatown near the Manhattan Bridge, and she was telling me like, hey, there's a mall you should do your record store at. It's a dope mall. It's a Chinese mall. There's a lot of traction over there. And you always did good when you was at Chinatown. So I went one day in the AM, seen the spot she was telling me at, and called the guy up, did the lease. And we're almost been here for 2 years. Our Chinatown store is our main store. And it's been a very successful launch since we started. We have so many great people come through, do cool like meet and greets and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But what ended up happening is I had this store doing amazing. And then I did a record fair, right? And I do these record fairs, and sometimes I bring my son with me. So I brought my son with me one day to this record fair, and I had to use the bathroom. And my son knows how to take care of the table at the time. At the time, my son's like 11 years old, right? So he knows how to take care of the money. We have done these few fairs with each other. He knows how to do it already. So I went to use the bathroom. I come back, and he sold an Ashanti record, right, for like $100, OG Ashanti record. And the guy that was there, he was like, "Oh man, it's very impressive to see your son sell a record." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, it's cool." Like, so we started talking and having conversation, and he was saying like, "Yeah, man, I have a couple record stores, and one of my other stores, I feel like it could do much better. I just am not around." And I was like, "Hey, man, how about we partner up on some stuff, right?" And he was like, "Sure, like, I could share space, bin space, and this, that, and the third." And so after that, I basically was paying rent, putting my records there in Chelsea, and it was working. I was like, "Oh shoot, I got two stores."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I got two stores. It's crazy. So I was like, "Man, this is working. This is actually really working." And I get a call at the time. I'm doing this Ghostface album, and the people at Massive Appeal are doing this 50 years of hip hop activation in Los Angeles. So I just told them like, "Hey, look, how about you let me bring my records over there and I'll curate that section for you. And that basically blew up. They were there for like 4 months and I was blowing up LA, bringing like real grails over there. So I pretty much had the algorithm of what at the and the pulse of what people in LA buy, the data pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So I was pretty hyped. I was like, okay, if I ever wanted to open a store in LA, I know the pulse over there, and I have 2 stores going, and I'm feeling good and all that. And my son, we went to go digging again, and he's like, man, I wish there were kids records. I was like, what you meaning? He was like, man, there's no kids records. Like there's no kids clothing in these record stores. It's just adult stuff. I said, then we need to open up a kids store. He's like, I like that idea, Dad. So next week will be a year that we opened up our store in Dumbo. My son's store. We had Killer Priest to open up the inaugurations. My boy Manure, he's a very excellent saxophonist, and John Newsom was there to
Mm-hmm.
help kick off the Brooklyn Dumbo experience, and it was really really nice. So you start to find out like, all right, cool. You got stores, uh, got 3 stores, things are doing well. Let's expand some more. So I call up Ghostface. I'm like, yo, look, I know you have your coffee shop there. Every Saturday you open. Why don't I just put some records in your coffee shop? Put only your records, only the samples that are used for you. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Still, Gustavo, I got you. You my brother. I got you. Boom. So go over there, put the rack, put the records, keep it moving.
Mm-hmm.
Right. My very, very good, excellent business partner, Big Boo. She's networking, doing her thing as always. And she tells me like, hey man, there's this guy. His name is Andrew. He has this company named Avant Garde, and they're interested in doing records. They sell vintage clothing, vintage chrome. It's cool. I will have a meeting with them. Man, we would love to have like your records in here. Sure, let's go. Right? And basically like that, I have 7 stores in New York. And then I do the Austin show where I met you at, and I pretty much was like, big shout out to Nate, big shout out to all these guys, man. It's like these guys are amazing. One of the best record shows, hands down. I mean, in between that and Music Planet, the best record shows, man. I have so much fun. I meet amazing, beautiful people like you that have great souls and just want to talk about music and life and the experiences that we go through life. And it's just phenomenal, man. It's just so phenomenal to like go to these record fairs, meet these people, man,
Mm-hmm.
and get it going. So I was like, man, why am I mailing these records back to New York? I need to figure out a way, how to keep my records here, right? Or more than that, start a record store in Austin, right? So um big shout out to my brother Cy. He has this great store called Yome in Austin, Texas. Uh I was buying a lot of Chrome Hearts, selling the Chrome Hearts out here in my stores in New York, build a very, very good brotherhood. And basically I told him like, hey, look, you know, um, you have a really nice space. I would love to put like 4 record racks in here. And he says, yo, whatever you want to do, bro, like let's make it happen. The rent is this. Cool, let's go. And that's another store,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it started to do very well. So when I did Austin Record Convention, I'm now not mailing out my records. I leave everything here. The merch, like this is some of the merch I got on.
Mm-hmm.
See? Austin merch. When we had Killer Priest show up. And people coming, buying stuff, showing love. And I was excited. So that was, that's another store. And then the top of January of last year, I helped artist by the name of October London, who signed to Snoop Dogg's Death Row. Basically, did all the vinyl press up for him, CDs, did all the promo, all the in stores, things of that nature. Pretty much blew up the whole project. And the higher ups in Snoop's team was really, really, really seeing that, like, damn, this guy is he's a force to be reckoned with. Like, he knows what he's doing, he's focused, he's disciplined, he's getting stuff done. And we had a basically meeting with them, and they were like, hey man, like, what can we do? What can we do to get some stuff going over here? And I was like, man, I wanna, get the catalog. I want to press this. And they're like, look, Snoop has some stores, some shops. Would you be interested in, like, you obviously, want to do a record store? You obviously doing very well. Cool, let's do it. I gave Snoop's team the business plan. They loved it. And we've been in business right now for 5 months in Inglewood, 913 South Prairie Avenue, across the street from the Forum, SoFi Stadium, and all of that fly stuff. Literally across the street. So you can come to the shop, and if anyone's seeing this, take a little clip and be like, hey, he's giving me a little 10% discount for watching the podcast. All right.
So RNG Records. What is RNG?
RNG is basically rhythm and gangster. If you guys knows anything about RNG is the title of one of Snoop Dogg's albums, right? And that's one of the flyest albums, because that's beautiful. I just want you to know. That song's on that album. The song with him and Be Real is on that album. Vatos, that's a hard album, and it kind of represents what we are, like rhythm and gangster. You know what I mean? But my whole thing is, there's never been a record store dedicated to hip hop. This is the one store that everyone that goes inside there says this was so needed, just for hip hop itself. Just for people who love hip hop, to see actual grails. People never seen some of these records before. OG, one of one, promos, test presses, But, I feel like, I'm not going to say this strongly, I'm the only record store in LA that has a Grail museum. There's no other record store that has a museum of just Grails. And it's not just hip hop. It's hip hop, R&B, jazz, metal. I'm not discriminating. I'm just really showcasing, how far we have gone in the music genre, and we love Ozzy. I mean, we sample Ozzy Osbourne, Iron Man, Busta Rhymes sampled that, all these records that, that's why hip hop is so important, because we take the best moments of every genre and make hip hop. I mean, going back to, the Black Cow, Steely Dan, that becoming Uptown Baby for Lord Tariq and Peter Guns. There's just so much that we get, that we have flipped, that changed everything. But to be in RNG, that's pretty much a celebration, of that. And between me and you, all the stores are a piece of my dad. I really go. I make the stores to where, when I used to go to record stores, it reminds me of my dad. Will my dad be happy to buy records? So all these stores are pretty much my kids, but pretty much they're also a piece of my dad. Because if it wasn't for my dad, I wouldn't even be into records. I wouldn't even be into mixing. I wouldn't be into being a musicologist and all this other stuff. So a lot of these stores is it's pretty spiritual to me when I open up a shop.
Oh, that's beautiful, and I feel the same way. I'm always looking to recapture those moments early in life, and that's when I go into a record store, it's like, a piece of my childhood and a memory of my dad. Those were just irreplaceable moments, and I know I'm still chasing it. It's a bit futile, but that's just life.
Also, a few months ago, I opened up this vinyl meditation space.
Yeah.
In honor of my dad. It's called Horatio Sound Lab. Pretty much, it's we're in Horatio right now, where people could just sit down and listen to records, man. Or we have a cool little intimate soirees where people come through, and we have Q&As, and we talk about records that have been put out, produced with producers, artists, engineers, and things of that nature. So it's just a cool little space that I think that people need to start having little conversations. Or sometimes people just want to get away and spend an hour, 2 hours working on some music, or working on some listening to music and working on their laptop. And we have teas and matcha and like a lot of cool little things that people want when they want to sit down and get away for like an hour and escape and be in a safe place.
Well, that's beautiful. So, look, I'm going to put these links in this episode page because there's other things. There's vinyl on demand at your site. You get involved in so many things, and I'll tell you one thing, Plug. I know you, and thank you for being generous with your time. Your Instagram. I go through your Instagram every other day. You're always posting things not only relevant to the vinyl community, record shows and information, but also these clips of wisdom. And the clips that you share always are just real nuggets of strong thinking, of perspective, both musically and business wise, because they have to go hand in hand. It's hard to exist in a music field if you don't have a strong spine of business. So looking at your Instagram again, I want to encourage people. Producer Plug Uni, follow him on Instagram, and just go through those videos. You learn a lot.
I think also too, the best advice I ever got was from Tom Silverman at Tommy Boy, and I always take this when he said this to me. He told me, "Learn from my $1 billion mistakes." That when he said that to me, because we was working on this Ghostface album, 36 Seasons. That was the first project I did with him, and we was doing some marketing plans, and he was like, "I did that already. Learn from my $1 billion mistakes." And I was like, man, that is a powerful statement you just told me that, Tom. You don't even know how that hit me right now. Because I'm understanding where he's like, I did that already. I made that mistake. Don't do the mistake. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And vinyl on demand was made out of just straight necessity again, man. These are things that people really, really need. And I'm very honored to do these reissues for Psycho Les, do these reissues for Method Man and Street Life, Ghostface. The list goes on. We just finished doing Real Psycho and all this other stuff. And so many other things we're dropping this year. So much love to Large Professor, Ghost, the whole Wu family, Big Boo. I got my album coming out, Plug Volta, this year. Mud Brothers, big shout to Sid the Third, Slipknot. Stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned.
Plug, you're welcome back anytime. Let's keep this conversation going. And I'm going to be in LA in a couple of months, so I'm going to definitely check out RNG in Inglewood. And I will see you, sir, in May in Austin, if not beforehand.
I'll see you too. And guys, one little piece of nugget advice. Not even advice, but a little hint. A little exclusive just for this show. I have a new record dropping. It's Big Boo featuring Ghostface, produced by myself. Nate Child. It's called Wanna Do. It's going to be exclusively released through our friend John Newsom. And I'm very proud of this. So let's get it. It's one of my biggest projects I'm going to put out this year. So I'm really honored. Thank you for your time again, Nate, for everything. This is an amazing honor, and I'm just proud to be part of the platform.
Oh, mate, we're so glad to have you in the community. I always enjoy our conversations. I'm glad we got to make one and record it that we'll be able to share. So, again, mate, you take care, travel safe, and
salute, man. Thank you again.
We'll be in each other's shadows soon, no doubt.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right.
Cheers, Plug. Nice conversation. Even though we had the someone outside my window with a weed eater going that last minute or so, but all the content made it through. Producer Plug, very knowledgeable guy. Really enjoyed meeting him at last year's Austin Record Show. Looking forward to hanging out with him again at this year's Austin Record Fair, and I'm sure we're going to see each other around quite a bit as well. Again, follow him at Producer Plug Uni on Instagram, or check out all his vinyl record shenanigans at producerpluguni.com. And that's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, much love and respect to everyone who is sharing these episodes on social media, Reddit forums, Facebook groups, all that good stuff. That is appreciated. Those of you who are leaving positive reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, well, there's a special place in my heart for each of you as well. We'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, you all behave yourselves, and thanks again for listening to the Vinyl Guide podcast. Cheers.